Hey everyone, welcome to the 5 Beer Plan. I'm Brian, and this is the ongoing saga of an everyman's ale trail. In this episode, I get summer beer school officially started up, share the concept for my next homebrew project, cast a line with Frank Estremera from Muskellunge Brewing, and review a unique American pilsner, also from Muskellunge Brewing. All right, my beer-centric students, it's time for the first session of Yeast Feast. Welcome to Yeast 101. In order to move forward with this new segment, it is necessary for me to begin to lay the groundwork. Please keep in mind that I am learning right alongside you. As I have mentioned before, there are 4 basic ingredients for making beer: malt, hops, water, and yeast. Without these ingredients, we would not be able to fully enjoy beer as we know it. Through the different segments of homebrew hijinks, I always make a point of describing the yeast pitch. So what is the pitch, you might ask? Well, the pitch refers to the action of adding the yeast to the wort to begin fermentation. The more brew sessions I get under my belt, I think in some respects this is an underrated part of the brewing process. As we will learn moving forward, there are many different types of yeast created for different temperatures, styles, and methods. The thing I hear time and time again from professional and amateur brewers alike is that if you don't get a healthy pitch, you won't get a good beer. When I first started brewing, I was so afraid of infecting my wort that after sanitizing my yeast packet and kitchen shears, I pitched the yeast and closed up the fermenter as fast as I could. I had an epiphany earlier this year when I was invited to a brew day by award-winning experienced homebrewer Brian, who lives just outside the greater Tampa, Florida area. We brewed outside. It was sanitary and all, but it was still outside. So when it came time to pitch the yeast, Brian was not in a huge hurry to close things up and protect the wort, which kind of shocked me. And he gets consistent results. So don't misunderstand what I'm saying here. Unless you're planning for a wild yeast pitch, you don't want to leave your wort exposed for longer than you need to. But you also don't need to rush the process either. The yeast needs a healthy environment to do its work. Proper temperature is important. And also adding oxygen to the wort by aerating through stirring, shaking, rocking, or using an aeration stone to add the oxygen. Then pitch the yeast and close up the fermenter. Anyway, I hope you'll keep tuning in because it's going to be an interesting journey. In this segment of Homebrew Hijinks, it's time to reveal my latest project. I keep trying to brew new and different styles to understand what goes into them and how the brewing process differs from session to session. Up to now, the beers have been light and sessionable. So this time around, I decided it was time to go big or go home. It was time to brew a double IPA. The big thing, no pun intended, about a double IPA is the grain bill. You need to get a higher amount of sugar in your wort in order to reach that higher level of alcohol that comes with a style, which is typically 7 to 10% ABV. Depending on the recipe and the space available in your mash tun, it may be necessary to augment the wort with dextrose if you have it on hand, or just plain old table sugar. So buckle up, it's going to be an interesting brew session as I pay homage to the name of the street I live on and kick off the North Avenue Double next episode. Now, it's time for Barstool Banter. Listen in as I cast a line with Frank Estremera from Muskellunge Brewing in Canton, Ohio, and reel in some interesting background information and find out more about what's going on in the heart of the Canton Arts District. Welcome to Barstool Banter. I'm sitting down with Frank Estremera from Muskellunge Brewing in Canton, Ohio. Frank, thank you for taking time out of your very busy schedule to join me on the podcast.
Yeah, thank you very much for having me.
Absolutely. So can you please tell me what your role is there at the brewery?
Well, here I am the brewer owner finance, bartender, everything. Yeah, with together with my wife, we manage everything around here. My wife helped me with QuickBooks and other things and scheduling, etc. And I am basically at the brewery making the beer, making all the process, matching everything onto keg and serving. And I'm also a bartender also, so I basically take care of everything down here.
I've heard that the ownership of a brewery, you wear many, many hats. So it sounds like that's you as well.
Yeah.
Well, I love your tagline from your business card. It says, inspired by nature and crafted by science. Can you please tell me a little bit about the name of the brewery and how you came up with it?
Well, it is my favorite fish. So I started fishing when I was 4 years old, and I came across different species of fish. And then when I came across the muskie, I got impressed by the silhouette of the fish, all the characteristic of this specific species. And then when I became a home brewer, I said, in some way I start a commercial brewery, I am going to name it to honor this fish. And back in 2009, when I started home brewing, I have this in my mind. So, and it's basically a brewery to honor fish. We all basically, I will say, everyone is enjoy fishing, right? So
Exactly.
I would say, so yeah, it is a brewery just to honor the fish that we enjoy, either by sport or by eating it, whatever we decide to go. So
Absolutely. I used to do a lot of fishing growing up. I don't think I ever caught a muskie, but I know that they're very strong and very powerful fish when you get it,
yeah.
hooked on your line. So, have you ever caught muskie yourself?
Yes, I got one actually last July, West Branch Lake, north from Canton. It's a big, big lake. So I just hired a charter, very knowledgeable about musket fishing. So he took me around, and I told we got a few. We got one small one, let it go, and then we got this one like 43 inches. I have hanging a picture of my brewery.
Nice.
And then I lost another one, a bigger one. I'm not sure it was a muskie or not. I'll never know, but it was a really strong pull. So I was lucky that day, right? Because supposedly a lot of anglers that stop at the brewery said that they are 1,000 cast fish.
Right.
So I was lucky to get one on my very first day going out fishing for muskie.
Nice.
Yeah.
So have you stopped now? You've gotten your muskie. Now you don't have to go again, right?
Now we'll have to go again anyway, but trying to get some time.
Yeah, exactly. So can you tell me what Muskellunge Brewing makes it unique to the industry?
Well, I think it's the gimmick of fishing. Same way that all the breweries have their own gimmick. My gimmick is fish, and honoring fish, honoring the muskie. All most of my beers are named after fish, with the exception of few. So it's actually the fish itself by its nature that I basically named after all my beers.
Okay. So can you tell me how large a space you have there at the tap room?
So the tap room is 1,000 square feet, and then a basement where I have the brew house is 2,000 square feet. So 1,000 square feet for the brew house, and then another 1,000 square feet for storage. So the total is 3,000 square feet.
Nice. Well, I was fortunate enough to visit your brewery there on one of your off days, and I know that that's right down in the heart of the Arts District, which is pretty cool. You also have some pretty big news coming up. I know you've been working really hard for the past few weeks there at the brewery. Can you tell my listeners what you're planning there at the tap room?
Yeah, so like a little bit of background, I always wanted to have a kitchen here, but as you may imagine, it's a lot of investment. So what I decided to an experiment. So I use a ghost kitchen really close from here, Star Fresh, and I rented the kitchen using our own family pizza sauce, and we serve flatbreads with our own pizza sauce, different meats, etc. Lately, I started offering a Cubano flatbreads. I have been a home run. So based on that, that's almost a year now we have been doing that. So we decided to say, hey, I mean, it have been a success. So we're actually start to build a kitchen this coming Sunday. So we spent about 8 months, having all the permits in place. 3 weeks ago, we got them approved, and we're gonna start building a kitchen. So it's just flatbreads, nothing complicated, no raw meat. It's too complicated for me. So just straight flatbreads out of the cooler, straight into the oven, as safe as possible. So yeah, that's the plan for the kitchen, and upgrading the tap. So currently I have 12 years on tap. I have a kegerator with 6 beers. So I plan to get rid of the kegerator and then bring 2 extra towers. So I'm going to have 18 beers on tap. So I'm also planning to upgrade my tap and bring a 3 compartments in, etc., and have actually 18 beers on tap. So a lot of work on my way.
Yeah, and you're doing all that yourself, correct?
Well, I have a general contractor. He's going to take care of the plumbing and electricity and other things. But I'm building the new walk-in cooler. I'm building my own draft. I went to Pennsylvania to Micromatic to get trained. So I am going to be building my own long draft. So, but my general contractor is going to take over the construction part, and then the other part of the bar and the long draft is going to be me. So
Great. Well, it sounds like you're going to make the experience that you'll get there at Muskellunge Brewing even better by having the food right there and having beer. I mean, what's better, pizza and beer, right?
exactly.
I love that. So I didn't realize that you had your own unique family sauce. So that's pretty cool. So you make all that yourself then?
No, I just get the regular sauce and then canned sauce, and we did it for years. So we have our own spice blend, and then I dig all my data in my computer, and so I just brought the recipe and tweak it a little bit and make some tweaking here and there. So finally went out like a 6 different pizza sauce, and with a friend of ours, we did some kind of final decision. So we ended up in this recipe. I mean, really, people just love it. So it's a good thing.
Nice. So you mentioned plugging things into your spreadsheet. So what is your background? I mean, every brewer has like such a unique background, and yours is also very unique. Can you tell me a little bit about what your vocation was prior to being a full-time owner of a brewery?
Yes, my last profession well, job that I had in 2016 when I quit was a pharmaceutical engineer. So I started R&D year 2000 coming out of graduate school and spent 7 years in research and development, in the birth of generics, reverse engineering products and things like that. And spent 7 years of my life. And that meanwhile, when I became a home brewer. So I realized that basically there's a big parallel between making beer, making pharmaceuticals, capsule tablets, etc. So I said, wow, what I have been doing for my career, I can apply some to make beer. So I immediately got into deep into the science of brewing. My 5 gallon system, I retrofitted with PADs and heat exchangers and things like that. And I learned, well, basically the kind of the basic in and outs of making beer. And then after that, I finished my R&D part. I just spent the rest of my career as a pharmaceutical engineer. So this is basically my background. So I
Yeah.
use all the science to make beer.
I always laugh. I always think that there's a lot of magic behind beer, but it really comes down to the science and almost the alchemy of it. So I mean, there's so many different things that go into making a beer that have to be you can muddle your way through it, but you really have to understand the science behind it a little bit to make sure that you're doing everything in a manner that's going to give you a good tasting beer that you're going to like and other people may like as well.
Yeah, in my case, I use auto water. So I basically, based on each style of beer, I reconstruct the water chemistry. So water is not more than 95% of the beer. So you better
Yeah.
take care of the water up front. So I have an auto water system. I just treat my water for every beer that I make. So
Okay. So ROR, so that's reverse osmosis for those that may not know on the show. So I've heard different methodologies. So I've heard some people that have cartridges that they put into their water system in line after the ROR to get the water profiles they need. Do you actually just add the minerals and salts and things that you need to get to the water profile that you need, or
yeah, so that's a spreadsheet that I just created as a home brew. It took me years. It's in Excel, and the reason it took me years, the calculations are kind of easy. Just all the mineralogy, I just plug it into Excel. The challenge of that spreadsheet was I was trying to predict the color visually, like I put it like a glass, and then click it, and based on the malt profile, just predict the color. Funny thing is that I tried for a long time. I had the codes in place and everything, and it was not working. Every time they click, it's not working. So I got mad several times that I just let it go. And one day, it was a Friday. I have a really hard week, and really I was drunk at home. And I said, okay, let me pull the spreadsheet again to see if I can figure it out. And I figured out. I don't remember how because I was drunk and there I didn't input anything, but it's working. So I had the spreadsheet there, and I've been using it for since home brewing and now for 6 years making commercial beer. And my Excel spreadsheet calculates absolutely everything for me. So it's calculated for me all the minerals. So I have an option of having the city water profile if you have it, but I don't need it because I have out of water. So I have a straight calculation. So I just basically, for example, using calcium chloride and calcium carbonate to calculate the both amounts. You try to say 100 ppm of calcium, make sure that if you're using both, you have the right proportion. So it took me a long time to program that. Yeah, so I use that, and then I have a database of all the malts that I use and hops and things, and calculates everything for me. That's what I use basically, and then I just make the weighouts for the salts, and then add it to the water.
That's awesome. And again, that's the science behind it. And we
Yeah,
can even talk about the magic of beer, because if it wasn't for that drunken evening, you may not have figured out the right thing to tweak in your code.
exactly. Yeah.
One of the other things that I love the artwork that you have there. And of course, being right downtown in the arts district, I think that's pretty unique. Can you tell me a little bit about the logo and how you came up with that?
So the logo is funny because I think it was in 2013. My girlfriend back in time to then, my wife gave me a present for my birthday. So it was basically my cat with a bottle, then with a muskie because my cat name is Muskie. It's really nice. I love that muskie in that bottle. I was from an artist in downtown called BC Tats. Yeah, BC Tats Studios. So her job is to make like a pet portraits, but she used her art and her own style to make these muskies. I talked to her and said, "Hey, can you use this muskie for my logo?" I said, "Yeah." So she designed for me that logo using that original muskie in that art. And also, that I don't know if you took a look at the artwork that I have for fish of my different beers here. She also made that for me. So it's her unique art. It's like a layering colors or something like that. So it's really unique, very nice. So she designed that for me. My logo is her work. So I paid her just to design that logo for me.
Yeah, it's really attractive. It's got kind of a little bit of a whimsy to it. I think it really fits really well with what you're doing there in Canton. Are you going to have her do any more in the future?
Yeah, my original plan was to have 1 art per beer. So I can instead of having a menu, just go ahead and
Yeah,
put the art and say this is the beer that I have. But yeah, like
it's so
that.
cool. I love
Yeah,
it.
it is. But then I started, like getting short money. So
Yeah.
so hopefully in the future I'm gonna have a better cash flow, and then I'm gonna talk to her to see if I can go to the general idea of having each art. So every time I switch a beer, instead of switching the menu, I just go ahead and put an art and say this is the beer that I have. This is the ABV and the blah blah blah. So yeah, there's plan in the future to hire her again. So she's gonna start making this fish for me.
Fantastic. I love the idea too. So, the only thing I ever knew that Canton was famous for was the Pro Football Hall of Fame. I'll be honest with you. So, how did you end up choosing Canton for the location of Muskellunge Brewing?
Well, it's kind of funny because I was living in Cincinnati when I started this journey in 2014. And the thing is that I was dating my girlfriend. So she's from Canton. So we were commuting. So we commuted for 7 years.
Wow.
Yeah. So when I started the idea of having a brewery, I had to, part of the analysis and things that I did, I said, you know what? I mean, Cincinnati in the future, 5, 6 years from now, is going to be saturated with breweries. And I say, well, just go ahead and move to Canton, quit your job and search for your dream, go with your girl and then start the brewery up though. So that's exactly what I did. I don't regret it because right now Cincinnati, there's the last thing that I knew was 80 breweries. And here in Canton, we had only a few. So it's a great opportunity. It's a different market. Yeah, that's a story. So that's the way I end up in Canton. So my girlfriend just pulled me out here, and then and also the brewery and the financial analysis that I did for it. So
Yeah, I think it was a good choice. You're right. Cincinnati has quite a number of breweries there currently, and you're starting the renaissance there in Canton. So kudos to you for looking ahead and saying, I need to be here. That's great. So you mentioned you started homebrewing back in 2009. Is that correct?
yes,
So you've been brewing for 15 years, homebrew as well as commercial.
yep.
So when you started out, what kind of a system did you use?
Oh, I start extra. I didn't have any system. So
Okay.
the first beer that I just brew was a clone of the Killian Red, because back in time when I was in the dark side of a Bud Light drinker, this is this is the only craft beer kind of that like I just drank. Truly, I mean, this is one of the one that I get 1 6 pack per week, and then I just drink it at home. That was the only one. I just love it, and I said I want to make something like that. So I tried that. That was my very first brew as a home brewer, and it was 100% extract.
Okay. So, out of curiosity, have you paid homage to that Killian Red and brewed your own red ale yet?
I did, but I wasn't able to match the profile. First, because it was a long time ago, and since they sell it to poors, they don't they don't taste the same.
That's true.
So I don't have the chance just to get an original 6 pack in the supermarket and taste it and try to match. Yeah, I have my own red ale, but it's not even close.
Sure. Historically, in the craft industry, there's been kind of a lack of diversity in the market and in the industry. It's great to see that we've got a number of additional ethnicities that are represented now that are brewing and owning craft breweries. I know you mentioned that you're originally from Puerto Rico. How has your heritage influenced your beer and brewing there?
Oh yeah, definitely. I would love to have the opportunity to brew beer with local fruit. For example, I'm right now when I'm in an acerola goza, but I haven't been able to get the fruit here. I'm trying to get concentrate. I was talking to Dave Market in Akron because they have a broad base of clientele that I let, and they told me they're gonna see if through their distributor they can get me the acerola that I need. So really, I would love to make beer with Puerto Rican fruit. I did one when I'm in a goza. But that was my first gozas that I make. It was a true nightmare because I have to add like a 66 pounds per barrel of that fruit in order to make it taste like anything. It was basically a puree, I will say. Sold pretty well. I don't know what to do with that again. And there's other fruits I'm thinking like mamey. Mamey is another fruit in Puerto Rico. I would love to make a hobo. So I don't know hobo, what is the translation in English, but it's a really delicious fruit in Puerto Rico that I would really love to make a beer. But it's really local, so I haven't tried to find a puree of that, but I could find anything. So yeah, Puerto Rico have a lot of good fruits, local fruits that are really nice, will be nice to make a beer with.
Cool. I hope that it works out that you can find some of that fruit that you need to be able to accomplish that, because I think that sounds like something clearly the industry needs to try, and I think clearly would fit in with the art creativity that's going on there, in downtown Canton that you're helping with.
Yep.
Last call.
It's nearly time to wrap things up, but first, one more for the road. This episode, I'm drinking Deer Creek American Pilsner from Muskellunge Brewing. From the brewer, and this comes directly off the can. This light and flavorful beer was named to honor the beautiful Deer Creek Reservoir, which is populated by the largemouth bass, saga, and crappies, among others. This is one of 4 lakes managed by Stark Parks. We brew our American Pilsner with 100% 6-row malt and real corn added straight to the mash, the old-fashioned way. This delivers to you a unique, refreshing beer all year round. Sip, enjoy, keep drinking local, and cheers. Without further delay, this is a 4.7% ABV American Pilsner. I bought a 4-pack directly from the brewery when I visited there earlier this summer. So I poured this one out into a Pilsner glass. This beer pours a very clear and clean golden color. It's quite a beautiful beer. On the nose, I get a little bit of light maltiness, maybe a little hint of biscuity aroma in there. It's a very appealing looking beer. So, first sip impression. Okay, so one of the things that Frank and I talked about during the interview is that with this particular beer, he uses real corn that he purees. And honestly, when I drink this, I really get that nice grain kind of profile on there. Not gritty, but I get a definite grain profile. And that's certainly coming directly from that pureed corn that he uses in the mash. It's got a very nice, pleasant, hop bitterness on it. Very subtle, but very much there. It might finish with just a slight bit of dryness. There's a little bit of sweetness there, and again, that probably is coming from that corn in the mash. It's just a very well executed American Pilsner. Honestly, there's not a whole lot more that I can really say about this beer. It's delicious, it's refreshing, it's exactly what I would want from a handcrafted American Pilsner. And knowing what I know now about Frank and what he puts into his beer and his recipes, it certainly is something that I would expect him to produce. So I give this one a very high 3.5 tasters out of 5 on the flight board. Cheers, Muskellunge Brewing. If you've got a beer you'd like me to drink and describe, leave a comment below. If you're a brewer and have one in mind, direct message me on Instagram and let's see what we can do. That's all for this episode of the 5 Beer Plan. With so many podcasts out there, thanks for choosing to listen to mine. Join me next time as I continue to lay the groundwork for yeast, kick off the next homebrew project, set the hook on the last half of my fishing trip with Frank Estremera from Muskellunge Brewing, and review another beer. Remember to hit the subscribe button to be notified of new episodes. I'd love to hear from you, so please follow me on Instagram, 5beerplan 2022, and leave a comment to let me know what your favorite American Pilsner is. Be sure to support your local breweries, choose your beers wisely, and drink them responsibly. Until next time, keep walking your ale trail, and stay thirsty, my friends.